partners are the ones that say, hey, I'm going to invest in this relationship, share business outcomes, challenges, so I can gain alignment. So they have a seat at the table when it comes to helping with strategy and road mapping and planning and reduction of cybersecurity risk.
Dustin, I'm excited. You're my first person that I get to talk to about managed IT here at Marco. So I think we should start out with both introducing ourselves. So I'll let you go first, and I'll say my name.
Yeah, I'm Dustin Bonn. I'm our Director of IT Solutions, Sales, and Technical Account Management, and I'm on my 12th year here at Marco.
Nice. And I'm Kim Tan. I work in the marketing and sales operations, and I've been working with Marco for 6 years. So we both got some tenure, which is good. So Dustin, what should SMB owners know about managed IT? Sort of a broad question, but I thought, you know what? I'm going to ask 2 AI tools that same question. What should they know? Interestingly, both of them answered first with what the definition of managed IT services was and what they thought it should be. Then they listed some key points to consider. One of them had 10, one of them had 15. But both of them said their top point and they thought the most important was cost effectiveness. Do you agree with that?
You know, I do tend to agree with a caveat. The caveat being, managed IT it's a pretty blank statement, right? I mean, that's pretty encompassing. So like inside of Marco, managed IT actually represents several different products underneath managed IT. So that's kind of the umbrella. So I think managed IT, like I said, can mean something different. And so it's not a one size fits all type of model or one offering. And so it makes it awfully challenging actually for for small to medium business leaders to pick the right provider, because they may seem a little different, but it tends to be challenging to compare apples and oranges. And so I think investing the time to properly evaluate the providers, and realistically, if they're not leading with or doing an assessment, that's typically a little bit of a red flag.
If there's one thing, managed IT we hear isn't just from big businesses, right? So this was specifically around small to medium business owners. But if you're talking to the owner or someone who's going to make the decision around who you're going to go with in terms of managed IT, what is one thing that they should know? Sort of that you need to know this is that green flag of, yes, this is the right one.
Yeah, I think cultural fit is as important as anything at this point in time. So making sure your organization is aligned with somebody that will align with the culture you're trying to drive in your organization. And I think culture leads to alignment with business outcomes. Really, a managed or services now needs to be, an asset or a partner inside of the organization versus an outside provider. Partners are the ones that say, hey, I'm going to invest in this relationship, share business outcomes, challenges, so I can gain alignment. So they have a seat at the table when it comes to helping with strategy and road mapping and planning and reduction of cybersecurity risk. I mean, it's an involved relationship where they are part of the organization versus something that, hey, when my contract's up, I might just shift or change because something's a little bit cheaper.
What misconceptions do you think SMB owners have in general about managed IT?
I think one of them would be kind of that we've got it all covered. And, the platform that we're delivering today, it changes year over year, as technology evolves, cybersecurity evolves. So it's a place where complacency is not king. The evolution of managed services from break fix to where we are today is still rapidly moving, and now a lot of focused on business outcomes and how we can be closer connected to this business process automation, artificial intelligence. So I would say being complacent is a misconception, or it could be a challenge for some too. If you're not being challenged by your managed services provider, it might be time to ask some questions. So a person can help maybe deliver reactive support for your employees, but they certainly wouldn't be the ones manufacturing a antivirus or endpoint detection or email security or some of these other kind of next gen tools that make up your IT environment. So I think when you look at it from a pure dollars and cents perspective, trying to weigh in You got human capital cost, you've got training, you've got education, you've got software, you've got tools, and then who's going to stay up on current with technology. I think the return on investment usually is more favorable than one thinks.
So that answer is really the math of IT, right? So how does Marco help SMB owners with the math of it, figuring out just exactly what you said? So how do you help with that process?
Yeah, I like to equate it to even an hourly rate. We can actually boil down what our service would cost an organization per hour. And I can tell you most of those usually equate to a less per hour than what even minimum wage is offering in today's world when you think of the management, the monitoring, the tools, the people, the processes. So to deliver that type of big company resources, small company feel, really for any managed service provider at scale is where the efficiency comes into play. In some organizations, that's what they're asking for us. Maybe they have a in-house IT department, but just don't have the chief information security officer type of role or responsibility. And that's a gap in their organization. And so they can contract Marco for just that piece. Some say, hey, I've got this managed services relationship. Maybe it's with Marco, maybe it's not. But we were missing this cybersecurity focused and accountability within the organization from a leadership perspective. And that's a good place to start too. So it's kind of interesting that the managed IT package or solution in general is rapidly evolving, and it's intended, or at least our philosophy is try to meet the customer a little bit closer to where they're at and where they want to go versus maybe making some assumptions in terms of what resources or direction the organization is looking to take.
Yep. So I think that's where that mature model comes in. Marco's been doing this for 15 plus years. You have other people that, are in that same boat. Maybe some people have just started or more of a niche. But I think, having someone that works with a lot of industries, that has a lot of expertise, that says, yes, we've taken a manufacturing or taken a healthcare or whatever that next vertical is. And yes, this is what we've seen and we've helped them with that. Does that bring a lot of, I was gonna say, when you're talking to small, medium business owners, do you think that helps, to them to feel more comfortable with, yes, this is the right partner for me?
Yeah, I think we've paid our due tax being in the managed services business as long as we have. Not going to claim perfect, but we are evolving. And I think one, it's brand credibility, right? Do you want to work with somebody that has the resources, has the technical aptitude, has the business outcome focus in mind to align with the organization? I do think that's extremely important, especially as we're hearing more today too, just kind of this vendor consolidation, trying to do reduce risk within the supply chain. So I think we're seeing more and more adoption around that as well too, saying, hey, I need to make sure I have a credible, not always bigger is better, but larger, more mature type of managed services provider that's going to be with us in the long haul that can maybe even participate in the due diligence now that some SMBs are starting to have to get intertwined with as well too, that maybe wasn't as aggressive or wasn't even as involved 2, 3, 4 years ago.
And then final question for you, Dustin. What are some signs that a SMB or small business, medium business would benefit from managed IT?
I think what a good place to start would be, hey, we're not really sure where we're at, where we're going, or what we have from a risk tolerance perspective. So I think if you've got more questions than answer when it comes to if somebody were to asking about their IT environment or their IT landscape, a good place to start would probably be to secure a third-party assessment just to get yourself a level playing field of where you're at and then maybe where you want to go in accordance with business outcomes. I think there's just a lot of newer technology that's emerging as well too. So providers, I think that will be at least starting these conversations with their customers will likely reap the benefits too, because managed IT is becoming less and less about being how quickly can I answer your phone call when something's broke to say how quickly can we bring a new product to market, meaning for the customer, or how can I make my employees more efficient? So something that took 6 mouse clicks, how do I get it down to 2? Or how do I use AI in our environment? And that's going to come not only with the technology perspective, but you're going to need the business acumen and how it rolls out within organizations. So the industry is very much evolving.